Hey Jeff, this is a bit of Jeff Siegel, OTR Central. This is a bit of a response to the video you did that I just saw about talking about how Jimmy Snuka, who passed away yesterday, deserves the Chris Benoit treatment. Now, I understand and respect a lot of the valid points you bring up. I mean, yes, Snuka did something horrible in 1983. He really did. I mean, I was 4 years old around that time. I was 3.5, 4 years old around that time when he did it. So I can kind of see where you're coming from with it, with your argument. Like you, I was a fan of Superfly. I saw him in Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, which I would wake up every Saturday morning in the mid-80s, 85, 86, and watch it. In 1985 to about 1987, and watch. I would watch it, I would. So I can understand where you're coming from with your valid argument and points about, how WWE needs to basically give Jimmy Snuka the same treatment they have given Chris Benoit. But here's where it kind of gets a little interesting. Here's where it kind of gets interesting, Jeff. You see, you have valid points as to why this should be. I mean, there's no doubt that all the evidence points to Jimmy Snuka and what he did to his girlfriend Nancy back in 1983. And there's no doubt that there's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that Chris Benoit did what he did to his wife, who had the same name as Snuka's girlfriend, which was kind of ironic. But also what he did to his son as well. There's a lot of evidence pointing to that. But here's what kind of gets intriguing, kind of gets interesting, if you will. You see, despite the fact that you're right about that, you bring up these valid points and you are entitled to what you're saying, and you are definitely probably 100% right as the fact that WWE needs to give him the same treatment that they gave Chris Benoit. That they need to go as far as never mentioning him again, remove him from the Hall of Fame, and just go as far as what they did with Benoit and say that the Snuka character was a fictional character. It was somebody else that just acted like that, normal human being. So I respect all the valid points you bring up, but here's the problem though, Jeff. Here's the major problem. Okay? The major problem was when it happened in 1983, wrestling wasn't as big as it was and is in 2007 and today. If something like what Snuka did was to happen today in 2016, 2017, then no doubt Snuka would be blackballed not just from WWE but from wrestling entirely. And there's no doubt that WWE would probably be on the forefront to get this guy jailed and maybe given the death sentence if it happened today. But you see, because wrestling, mostly WWE, wasn't such a big deal back in 1983, the reason it wasn't, basically the difference is, in 1983, what I'm trying to say is wrestling wasn't as big as it is today and as it was in 2007. You see, wrestling wasn't, this major global worldwide conglomerate that it is now. And a lot of us that didn't know about this whole situation until recently, maybe by a decade or two, or 6 years or 5 years, earlier from today, or from this year. Like 5 years. Some of us didn't even know about this until maybe a decade ago, 5 years ago, and true. There is no doubt. He deserves, as you would say, and you have a right to your opinion, Jeff, he deserves to rot in hell for what he did. But, like I said, the biggest difference is what he did was in 1983. And yeah, Vince McMahon may have swept it under the rug, or made sure it was swept under the rug because he was one of the top stars. But also, you got to realize that, like I said, wrestling in general wasn't as big as it was going to be several years later. And Snuka, in McMahon's eyes, was going to play a major part in that. And by playing a major part in it, he didn't want to lose Snuka at that time. And you got to look at it this way. From Vince McMahon's point of view, it was 1983. He knew wrestling wasn't probably as big as he was going to help, as he was hoping it would become and has. Or it did and has, I should say. But he didn't want to chance it. So, and he probably figured, like he figures now, people will forget about it. It's not really being nationally connected. It's not big national news, maybe, or big enough news to really get us in trouble or anything. And that right there is the biggest difference. You see, today, WWE is on such a worldwide, global front, if you will. They're on such a worldwide, global front that no matter what they do, they're always in the public eye. Back in 1983, they weren't, which is why they were able to sweep this situation under the rug, and why, even though a lot of us, like yourself, a lot of us, like yourself, kind of agree that, this is something that they need to acknowledge, or at least, do something about. You got to realize that what happened about 34 years ago, and to them, in 34 years, fans that grew up with someone like Snuka and now know about it, or even knew about it back then, are pretty much saying, it's no big deal. To them, because here's the thing, to the WWE, if we're hearing about this now, it's suddenly being brought back to, and we knew about it then, or at least knew about it maybe a few years after, it's suddenly being brought back to our memories. It's being brought back to the forefront. And to WWE, to them it's like, well, they completely forgot about it till now, so there's no real big deal. The thing is, Jeff, I know I'm sounding like I'm rambling. I just got off work. I'm tired. But the point is, the reason why this isn't being treated the same way as the Benoit situation was, is because it happened at a time when the WWE, when it was known as WWF, wasn't as big. It wasn't publicly known. It wasn't in the global eye. And thus, things like that could get swept under the rug easily and nobody would notice. Unlike today. That's why, even though you are right about what you say, you got a lot of valid points. That is why I don't think the WWE is going to ever blackball Snuka. Because of the fact that he contributed too much to the company. Even though he disappeared from the company a few times and went to AWA, went independent, like the original ICCW, went to the original ECW, made an appearance in WCW. You get the idea. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Well, I'm not saying it's not going to be big of a deal. What I'm saying is, to WWE, it's not going to be. So to me, to WWE, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Yet it is. But because of the timeline difference. And again, I do apologize because I'm tired. I got off work. The thing is, because of the fact that WWE looks at the time difference of when it happened compared to today, someone like Vince McMahon pretty much feels that because it happened 34 years ago, it's not that even though they tried to reopen it and try to get a final verdict, that because it was 30 years of investigation that pretty much went nowhere, and here you had a guy in Snuka that was basically now in a state of his life where even his wife said that he would try to leave the house a few times because he thought he had a match. They had dementia, had the stomach cancer, and just was not fit, as they said in court, to stand trial. So to me, Snuka got off easily, not once but twice. But again, getting back to what I was saying, the reason this wasn't brought up as such a big deal as the Benoit situation is because it happened at a time when the WWE was still private. They were not in the global eye, and so something like this could be swept under the rug. So that's basically why Jimmy Snuka was never, WWE never went as far as they did with Benoit in this kind of a situation. Again, you bring up some valid points, and you're right in every aspect of them, but you just got to look at it. Like I said, it's a difference in time and error. Had this happened, like I said, in this time frame, yes, it would be a big deal. Yes, WWE would blackball him. Yes, they'd probably be against him, put him on, make sure he put on trial, maybe rot in prison for life, maybe get the death sentence and all that. But that is not the case, and we just gotta live with it. Maybe they will make the right decision and say, you know what, we don't want this guy part of our WWE history anymore. Let's give him the Benoit treatment. Let's act like somebody else played him and he wasn't a real person. Then fine, go ahead in that direction. But the thing is, we got to be patient to see what the WWE does. And I think, again, it's just the difference in time. It's the 30+ year difference between what happened then and what happens today. So let me know what you think down below, Jeff, and anybody watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.